Hello, everybody. Lady Capera, Yolandi, Sappho, and Papamies, Richard. Hello, hello, hello. Actually, Lady Capera's message, I thought it said mum. It's very bright in here. Hang on a second. Let me just turn it off. That's a bit better. Okay. So, welcome to the Covenstead. All right. So, what are we going to be doing here is just chatting. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to chat about, and we'll discuss it. Yeah, so nothing in particular. Got no topics in mind or anything like that. So anybody who's watching this after the fact, who is watching the recording, there may be some silences here and there, but we'll see how this goes. And if it's successful, then I'll do it each month. So if you are here, say hello. Hello, Julie. Thanks for joining. And let me know where you're all from as well. I know most of the people that are here. RGD is here. Hello. Welcome. I'm sure we'll get some more people joining. So as I said, just ask any questions you want to, have a chat, discuss something, just say hello. And Joe Rivers is here. Demonosophia is here. Welcome. Joe's from New York City. Great stuff. And RGD is Czech Republic. Nice. Cool. Everybody from all over the world. Love it. All right. I suppose we could talk about what I'm doing at the moment and things coming up. So let's just see. Joe said, I've been practicing for about 4 years now. Nice. What's coming up on the channel? Basic stuff. I mean, this tomorrow, Monday, I'll be carrying on with the Path series. I'm going to have a read of Frater UD's what is it called again? Models of Magic, which is a good interpretation of the different models, and it's good to know. We don't necessarily fit into one specific model. We tend to shift between them all, but it's an interesting discussion. And what I'll do there is I'll actually read the whole thing because the Monday and Wednesday shows kind of go onto the podcast also. So it'll probably be better if I read the thing, and then as I'm reading through, I'll just pick bits out and discuss them as we go. Yolandi, will you be doing your healing hour again? I don't think so. I might do. I might think about doing it again. I think people did enjoy that, so maybe I'll do that again. Yeah. All right. So continuing from there, obviously we'll be doing the Ask Lee slot and also the Demon of the Week. We're going to carry on through the Goetia, or the Goetia. That's actually a Greek word, but anyway. Demonosphere, I think that the Covenstead is a great idea, a very much needed live stream. That's good. I'm glad to hear it's actually something that's needed. I wasn't quite sure, actually. Papamies, I did like the healing hours. Okay. Richard, thanks, Yoli. I was wondering the same. Okay, all right. I'll consider bringing the healing half hour back then. You can hear me make funny noises. Cool. Yeah, I'm just going to try and find time for that. All right, that's why I was going to talk about what I'm busy with, because apart from work, my web development, and this channel, and trying to advertise my magical and spiritual business, because we've got to pay the bills. Um, I mean, personally, I'm doing several things. I'm working on what I'm going to be calling the Temple of the Horned Serpent, which is going to be. I'm thinking of just doing online, and then people can create their own little covens around it. But it's going to be very much based on what I've learned and the way I practice. Um, my own personal leanings, my own personal beliefs. So it will go a lot into the main influences really of myself is Toltec path. Um, you should get a mini meter up. Toltec path. My own following of Hecate, Pan. I'm going to be bringing some Greek mythology and practices into it, like the Agathos daimon. It's going to be kind of largely based on the attainment of the personal daimon, what others may call the holy guardian angel, or the higher self, or the fetch mate, etc. And traditional witchcraft is going to be in there. My influences from that, and specifically talking about the personal daimon. We can bring in the fetch beast and the fetch mate into that realm. Pulling in the energy from above and below in order to meet in the middle and unite all of the things. So yeah, that's. I did start developing that, and I haven't got very far because of everything else. I'm also. I've decided to take on the Crowley material. The AA, his AA, his order, does have a reading list for all of the different degrees. So, in the past, I've kind of sporadically read Crowley's works here and there, just things I've picked up because of things I'm practicing or studying at the time. But I decided to go right from the beginning. So I've started with the equinox, reading the first 10 equinoxes of the first volume. Liber 777 is actually great. The funny thing is, Liber 777 is one of those books that you kind of have to try and understand how to work with because there's so much information in there. But it really is a great reference book. One of the instructions from Crowley and the order is actually to memorize Liber 777. I'm not going to be doing that, but no, that's quite a task. But yeah, so going through all the equinoxes, I'm on number 7 of the equinox at the moment, and then there's a load. There really is. It's a very, very long list. Over my face here because it's very distracting. Don't like looking at my phone when I'm talking. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that. That's kind of my part of my morning routine. Sappho said, sigils, how long should we keep them? That depends on the sigil and the type of working you're doing, actually. I mean, this is actually something that came up in one of the Ask Lee questions, and I'll cover it a bit more as well, or again. It's always worth discussing over and over again. So the usual instruction, specifically from a chaos magic point of view, is usually to create it and then destroy it. You create it, you activate it, you launch it, and then you destroy it. Reason being is to limit the lusting after result, and that can cause backfire when you're trying to do sigil magic. So the whole reason for a sigil magic, the whole thing behind it, is that you transfer an image, a glyph, into the unconscious mind, and through the trance you bypass the filters so that nothing gets filtered out, and you plant it directly into the unconscious mind. If you bring it back into the conscious, then interference has to happen. So you try to keep it in the unconscious mind. So This is the reason why we're usually told to destroy the sigil afterwards. However, some people are working with sigils, fire it off, Bobby. Okay. Some people are working with sigils in the manner of it being almost like a constant reminder, a vision board. You can even work with just a sigil and constantly have it viewing or constantly viewing it, and an energy is created around it, which can actually, in a fashion, become a servitor or a familiar. So, you can work with sigils in that fashion, and how long you keep those around until the work's done. And that's why I say this question can get a bit difficult, because the excuse me, the standard fashion of working with a sigil is to create the glyph and then forget what it is. So then once you forget it, when you look at it, you don't recognize what it is. You then launch it, which allows it to then go into the unconscious mind, and it doesn't usually come back to the conscious, because then you can't remember what it was anyway. So it's one good way of working with it. But sigils can be used in a variety of different ways. I'll come back to Joe. Sappho said I usually send them off, burn, but lately it's been a little difficult with so many wildfires. I don't want to draw attention to myself. Yeah, there's many ways you can do it. I mean, you can put a sigil on a cookie, bake a cookie, carve the sigil into it and eat it. You can put it on rice paper and eat it, or put it in water and let it dissolve. So there's a lot of different ways. You don't have to put it on a piece of paper that you have to burn. It's just that creation, launching, and then destruction of removing it from the conscious realm. But you can consume it. You can take it into yourself. Lots of different ways to work with sigils. So it depends on what you're doing with them. Let me just go over to Joe. And it seems like I keep attracting negative energies from strangers. It almost feels dangerous sometimes. I'm just wondering if maybe I'm doing something wrong in practice. No, I wouldn't really say you're doing anything wrong in practice. What you might find that is the negative energies from strangers could possibly be people actually seeking you out to help. I don't really know, because I don't know who you're interacting with or who they are. But one of the basic foundations of magic in general, witchcraft or ceremonial, whatever it is protection magic. So maybe have a look at your protection magic, your warding and everything else, and see if everything's in place. If it's not, then do some work on that. And what you may want to also look at is your own vibrational state. Maybe it's your own vibrational state is attracting that energy. So maybe have a look at doing banishings, raising your own vibrational state, so that you attract a different type of energy. There's also, there's many things you can look at. Kabbalistic gate opening, opening the various sephirot to bring in a different energy and envelop you in a different energy. So, again, that is changing your vibrational state to attract something different. Demonosphere, will there be any specific topics for each stream, or will they be more freeform based? Definitely freeform based. I just wanted this to be for everybody, not just a topic that I've decided to talk about. So very definitely freeform, and whatever you guys want to talk about. Joe said, I feel sometimes like something may be attached to me. I just started taking Magic Circle seriously and notice it helps a bit. Yeah, in that case, you're probably attracting negative energies because your vibrational state's a bit low. You're kind of in the sludge there, which most of us usually are until we start working and practicing. So I always recommend Jason Miller's book, Protection and Reversal Magic. Read that, it's excellent. And why I like it mostly is because it starts off with 3 practices, daily practices, in order to raise your vibration. Because going through normal life, we kind of sit in that low vibrational state. We come up against anger, depression, anxiety, all of it. And so we have to do the practices to bring our vibrational state up and try and keep it there. And that then brings us out of a different or into a different vibrational state where those lower energy entities are not in, and they can't therefore get to you. So he recommends doing daily practices of meditation, of banishing, and offerings to deities. That one can differ depending on if you actually do practice with deities or not. So you can do energies to your own higher self, for instance, or even to yourself. Sorry, did I say offerings? Offerings. So yeah, have a look at that book. It's an excellent book. And then it goes on to, if something specific happens, if you need to protect yourself from someone or something, there's various different methods from a lot of different traditions, actually, which is why it's a great book. Popme's write it on the beach sand and let the water flush it away. Excellent idea. There's a lot, but as I said, that's the usual method of working with sigils: is create it, activate it, launch it, and then destroy it. But you can keep sigils around, especially if you're working with sigil shoaling and the robo fish. What I tend to do, I haven't got them up at the moment. Not not too long ago, I actually took them all down. Busy actually going to start it again. But what I do, I take little squares of paper, the little, they're called, they're not post-its, but they're little square pieces of paper. I do draw the sigil on here, and then I put it on my wall, and then I add another one, another one, another one, another one, and I just build up a wall of sigils. And then if I want to do a robo fish, then I'll create a robo fish, and then they all shoal and they follow the robo fish. The robo fish is the one that is definitely bound to actually work. So all the other robo fish follow suit, and therefore they all follow suit and work and do what they're supposed to do. Joe said, awesome. I'm literally reading that book at the moment. Great book, really fantastic book. As far as protection and counter magic, reversal magic, and all of that goes, it is probably the best I've read. Another one, which is a blast from the past, that has always been a good book, is Dion Fortune's Psychic Self-Defense. Another one I would recommend. I actually need to read that one again. It's been years since I read that. To keep meaning to read it. Alchemy Lover, I love the beach sand idea and eating a cookie. Yeah, no, great. I mean, you can even if you've got you can take a glass or a cup or something, and if you have the means to score or scribe a sigil into the base of it, then you could use that for healing or wisdom or something. And then as you drink your water or your coffee or whatever it is throughout the day, use that cup. And, the sigil is charged. The glass is especially good because you can see it from the bottom or from the top as you're drinking. So, you're constantly reminded, your unconscious is reminded of that sigil the whole time. So if you're going to keep a sigil around, try to forget what it was for. Sometimes it's very, very difficult, but try not to bring it back into the conscious mind. Just keep that unconscious reminder. Keep triggering the unconscious, like how a vision board is supposed to work. Lady Capera, when I burn sigils or magic squares, I collect the ashes and scatter them to the 4 sons of Horus, i.e. the 4 directions. Great idea. You can just scatter them to the wind, really. I'm quite interested, Lady Capera, when you do a magic square, how do you create the magic square? I'm busy rereading Mastering Witchcraft by Paul Hewson. It's that old 1970s book, which is just brilliant. And I was reminded of the method used in there, I don't know why I forgot it. But if you're working with a particular magic square, say the moon or whatever it is, um, you you're working trying to work with a particular energy, say a god or a goddess, you would have a phrase that you say to the god or goddess, and as you start with number one in the square and you chant that, then you go to number two and you chant the chant, go to number three, chant the chant, and you go through all of the numbers, which then creates the magic square, and then you do the three crosses over it, and then hold it up and keep it with you. Great way to use a magic square. I'm curious to know how you activate them and work with them. RGD, I'm interested in soul retrieval. Is there any way one could prepare for a session, be more receptive to it? What could one expect from a session of soul retrieval? Is it one you're going to be doing yourself, or is somebody going to be doing it for you? Soul retrieval can be quite intense sometimes. What you may experience is reliving the trauma of the person. So usually what happens when somebody's doing it for another person is they get taken and they get told, or they actually have to watch it, what happened during the trauma that which actually took the soul part away. It could be talking to the lost soul and trying to coax it back, because quite often they are quite comfortable. It depends on what the trauma was or where the soul ended up and things like that. But sometimes they're actually quite comfortable where they are. It could be a case that the person who's having the soul retrieval done for them hasn't actually done what is necessary to bring the soul back. They may need to alter something in their life, and therefore the soul won't come back. So, sometimes it has to be repeated after it's been done. But what will quite often happen is the soul part will actually instruct the shaman or whoever's doing the soul retrieval on what needs to be changed in the person's life, and then they can take the message back. So there's a lot of things that can happen during a soul retrieval, but the person getting the soul retrieval done for them depends on the method that's being used. But the method I know is that they really just lie there. Even during removal of power intrusions and things like that, where the power intrusions get sucked out of the person's body, they're usually just lying there. There may be some energy transference, so the body may start flopping about or shaking or vibrating or something. But usually it's just a case of being there and being still and quiet. Then, if the soul comes back with the person who's doing the retrieval, they will then blow the soul into usually the crown and the heart. This is very much in line with core shamanism. If you go into more traditional methods, you may have a crowd of people who are actually doing the soul retrieval, because there's a group of people who actually ride the boat or paddle the boat. It's usually a boat which is, obviously it doesn't physically move, but the people who are actually in the boat and paddling the boat, directing the boat, they will all move into the astral, the world, the middle world, quite often the middle world if it's traditional shamanism. And they'll take the whole thing with them. So they all, as a group, go in, and then one person will do the soul retrieval. But as a group, they all go in, and they all go in and they all steer the boat back out again. So depends on the culture, depends on the tradition, but very much in line with core shamanism is the blowing in the heart and the head after the soul has been retrieved. I'm going to start rambling. Sappho, I usually put a couple drops of blood on mine. They seem to like that a lot, actually, and I'm cheap. Blood is really, really available. Blood's also a good thing to give as an offering, because it's, it's painful to prick your finger. I know it's just a little prick, but it's still painful. And just doing that kind of says, "Hey, I'm willing to do something that's sore and painful." So it's kind of a bit like a sacrifice, actually. Demonosphere, what are your thoughts about the Akashic records? Are they even a thing or just a very powerful man-made construct? Thoughtful. They're definitely a thing. I haven't really dealt with the Akashic records very much. I know Kai has. So next week we're actually doing advice for the new witch on Into the Wildwood. So if you want to ask that question on there, just let me know if you don't know what I'm talking about, and I will put the link in the chat here for you. But next week's show is going to be, I didn't even check my load shedding next week. I hope we don't have load shedding. Is going to be advice for the new witch. So maybe ask you a question there. I know Kai deals a lot or dealt a lot with the Akashic records, but the Akashic records are basically just a store of all information. And we can't really talk about past, present, and future because there is no such thing as past, present, and future. Everything exists in the same moment. So it is a record of everything. And the interesting thing is, if we go into practical Kabbalah, and specifically the lower self, the Nefesh has access to all information. It's kind of a paraphrased quote there. But if you consider that, then the Nefesh has direct access to the Akashic records. So if you work closely with the Nefesh, your lower self, then you can get access to everything. The Nefesh kind of needs to be worked alongside the Ruach, the middle self. They kind of work hand in hand because one retains memory, one doesn't. One is rational, one's irrational. The lower self, the Nefesh, is quite irrational, primal thought type of thing, but quite potent, quite powerful. So you may want to look into that. But definitely ask a question over there. I know Kyle will have more information about that. Lady Capera, I create them using the channeling method and by using certain numbers of the Neteru or by planetary application. Okay, very different to my approach. Wajet is very enlightened to approach for assistance with bringing those visions to life from the hidden region, pineal gland. Okay, cool. The question's dried up. Damn. Now what am I going to do? Oh, I can drink my hot chocolate. That's what I can do. All right. So until questions pop up again. What was I talking about? Oh, what I was doing. So reading through all the Crowley stuff. And it's not just Crowley stuff. It's also Swami Vivekananda, going into Hatha Yoga and things like that. So quite extensive actually, but that's going to be probably part of my morning routine for the next couple of years, I think. The funny thing is that the book list, the reading list for the student is supposed to be read in 3 months, and the list is extensive. It's incredibly long. So I don't know how anybody would do 3 months unless they don't work or have a job or anything like that. What else would I do? Oh, recently a friend and I in the US, in fact, it's just been this weekend, have decided to have a look through the Mark Allen Smith's books, Queen of Hell, etc., etc. So it's Primal Craft. So we're going to go through those and see if we can construct the workings, because it is kind of a bit all over the place. Richard, I was wondering, what are your experience with energy overload when working with demon spirits? If you do get an overload, that's when grounding comes in. And usually any ritual you do, I know people talk about being exhausted after ritual, and depending on the ritual, that can happen. But quite often what you'll find is after working with spirits, especially because you're working with an energy which is high vibrational energy and it's quite potent, and you're working with it. You're altering your vibration to, kind of match or come near to that vibration. So it can be quite charging. So after the ritual, ground, center and ground. It's always very important. So center and ground before you start a ritual, just to get yourself centered and your energy in a good place. Then do the ritual, and then afterwards you center again to bring yourself back into that normal everyday state and ground yourself, usually releasing that excess energy into the earth, and letting the earth take it. Have you ever done anything with the jinn? Well, if you consider that, oh, my sister's calling. Hello, sister. I'm not going to answer the call now. If you consider that the Goetia spirits are the jinn, then those are the jinn spirits that I work with. I don't work with Iblis or anything like that. Just never really been an area. I've had a look at it, and every time I have a look at it, it kind of doesn't really interest me, so never really pursued it. But yeah, the Goetia spirits are jinn. So those are the spirits that I work with in that fashion, in that regard. Lady Kapera, The Mother by Sri Aurobindo, Pondicherry Ashram is an excellent book. Yeah, I'm sure you actually mentioned that once before. I can't remember. I'm sure I went looking for it, and I'm not sure if I found it online. If you've got a link, if you can send that, just let me know, because I am interested in reading that. Sure, I'll grab some other Sri Aurobindo books. Can't remember now. Grabbed so many books over there recently and past, and my online library is insane. My Scribed library. The funny thing is with Scribed, it's great because you can kind of you can save a book to read later, and if you go to the home page, it kind of gives you recommendations because of what you've been reading, and then you see one that you want to read, and you save that, and then you save the next one. Eventually, you've got thousands of books on this list, and you can't remember what you saved, and trying to scroll through them all is impossible. Sappho, I had always thought there were different things. There are, if you go into Jin mythology, there are different tribes, classes, or whatever we wish to call them. I like to call them tribes. So, there's a variety of different types of Jin, just like there are different Fae, and there are different spirits within most realms, really. The gods and goddesses, there's different types of gods and goddesses, for instance. But the Jin, there's different tribes. So the Goetia spirits are the ones I'd like to work with because I can't remember if I said this or somebody else said this years ago. It's a bit like joining a biker's gang. If they accept you, you're in with all of them. If they don't, don't come back, type of thing. So I kind of got in with the Goetia spirits years ago, and I love them, so I kind of stick with them. I have a bit of difficulty with some of them every now and again, but that's what family is about. Lady Kapera, it's about the 4 various aspects of Mahadevi. Okay, now I definitely have to read it. Yeah, that's the other thing is Kamakya, goddess Kamakya. The funny thing is with Kamakya is that I've heard of Kamakya Temple over and over again. It gets repeated, here and there and whatnot. I never made an association with the goddess or the Shakti Pita and things like that, and Sati and Shiva, etc., and the whole story and tale there. So, and somebody mentioned goddess Kamakya, and I'm like, that seems to be interesting. I need to go discover that. And that's the goddess I've been kind of looking for ages. So, yeah, they find you eventually in weird ways. All right. Chat stopped. What else am I doing? With my Magic School membership people, also developing what I'm calling the demonic compass. It's kind of traditional witchcraft, and also including the demonic. I'm still developing that. Been practicing with it so I can actually construct the rest of it, and it's changed as things do. I was going down the route of calling the Sumerian gods into the 8 points of the compass, and it all fit together so nicely. But there's a lot more work. That's going to take years more work to actually get into that. So what I've replaced that with are the 9 the demonic divinities from Connolly's work. So I'm going to use those, and then what you basically do is you kind of open the gate. The Goetia spirits are on 7 of the points, and then the 8th point is Earth, which is for ancestral work. So on the 7 points, I've split the Goetia spirits into their various planetary assignments, and then that makes up the 7 points. As I said, the 8th point is then the Earth, which goes to the ancestral realm. So you do the circle. There's 3 circumambulations of the circle, and then you open a gate to the planetary space that you want to go into to speak to a specific Goetia spirit. You can go into the realm, or you can pull the energy into your realm in order to create a talisman, a servitor, a sigil work, whatever you're working with at the time, and then obviously close the gate, and your work's done. So I'm trying to simplify it a bit. I think I kind of got it down pat last night, so I need to finish writing that and send it off to the Magic School people. It's, in case you don't know what I'm talking about, Magic School is one of the memberships. If you press the join button, there's 2 memberships in there, the $30 and the $50 one. So the $30 one is just all of the videos and texts and books and everything that I have done and will do, and the $50 one is that, and also 2 online meetings a month, so you can just ask questions about your own work or direction that you need and things like that. Lady Kafera, Lee, do you know anything about Sariel? I don't actually, not one that I've worked with. There are so many spirits out there, angelic, demonic, so many. There's thousands upon thousands. So every now and again, somebody says, "Have you worked with this spirit?" And quite often I haven't. I have a nice little fixed group of spirits that I like to work with, and every now and again I'll call another one up, depending on the work. But Sariel is not one I've worked with at all. What else am I busy with? All the other normal work, meditation and all that stuff. Do you want to get in more into geomancy? I'm going to be doing that over the next few months, pulling that apart. Creative Soul, hello, how are you? Highly a new viewer here. I was told by a mage that casting circles is archaic and no longer really needed. What are your thoughts on this? Depends what you're doing. If you're going to be, and it depends what you're practicing. If it's ceremonial magic, they have specific circle formats. If you work in traditional witchcraft, you work with the compass. God King Cthulhu, how are you doing? So, depending on the tradition you're actually working with, you usually stick with that circle casting. And as I said, it depends on the work you're doing. So in a ceremonial magic approach, what you're usually doing is you want to raise your vibrational state. You want to create a barrier surrounding you, which it has a variety of different reasons or purposes. One is to create a barrier to keep out any unwanted spirits or energies. Another reason is, you know, it could be whether you're working the pentagram rituals or hexagram rituals, it could be bringing in elemental or planetary elements and balancing the space with those elements, with those energies. But what you're trying to do is create an area to work in. Think of it like your own little bubble. In fact, the very, very first circle I ever created back in 1995 was where I simply sat down on the ground and imagined myself in this bubble, and it cut into the ground, and I was floating through space in this bubble. And that's exactly what you're trying to work with when you work in ceremonial magic. But there, you can think of it kind of like a bit of a cipher, really. You can pull in different aspects or energies of the planets. You can pull in different energies of the elements of different spirits, different gods and goddesses. So you pull in these different energies, kind of pick them and pull them in. As long as they combine, as long as they work together, then you've got a good combination. So that's where all the study comes in, is trying to find out what works well together. But you're creating this bubble and you're working in your own little space. You then bring all of those energies into your space. You don't go beyond it, usually. You don't go beyond it. You bring all of those energies into your working. This is your universe. You are the creator of this universe. And you're pulling all the energies into work in that space, okay? If you are looking at something more witchcraft, then what you're usually doing is laying a compass. With limited space. I'll get to that in a second. You are with what you're doing is laying a compass, and what you're doing is you are kind of creating a space which is between worlds. The ceremonial magic one is between worlds also, but you're bringing stuff into your space. What you're doing with the compass round, you can work by bringing things in. If you're making a talisman, for instance, you might want to just sit where you are and bring the energies in. But you also usually, with the compass round, is you step beyond and you go into the lower worlds, and you can journey. You can speak to the ancestors, you can speak to different beings, entities, ask them for knowledge, bring that knowledge back, get healings. There's a whole load of things you can do, but that's probably the big main difference between the two, is that the ceremonial one is working in a space that you're bringing energy into. The compass round of the witch is kind of creating a liminal space, a liminal area, which you're then stepping beyond, you're moving beyond, and you're going into their world. And it's, in traditional witchcraft, it's usually one of those things that we say that if you go and knock on the door of a god in their home, their space, their realm, and you come with a posse of bodyguards with you, and you knock on their door, they're not going to trust you. They're just going to slam the door straight in your face. So you don't go with all that protection, which the ceremonial magic approach usually does go with all the protection. So depends on what you're doing. I wouldn't say it's archaic at all, and if it is archaic, all the better. If it's older, it's got more energy attached to it. There's thousands upon thousands of people that have worked that particular circle construct, and there's an energy that gets attached to that. So when you're working that construct, you are tapping into it also. So, archaic's not a bad thing. Something new is also not a bad thing, as long as everything works. That's the main thing. Okay, so creative soul with limited space is difficult. Yeah, but what you can do, I know I've got limited space where I am. Where I live, it's limited space. This is my bed behind me. I actually push my bed up against the wall, and I use that space to do ritual, so I can move around in it. It's just a little bit smaller than 9 feet in diameter. But what I do if I don't have space, and I'm specifically thinking of demonology here, what you can do is stand in one spot and call the east quarter, and then turn. and call the next quarter and turn, call the next quarter and turn. You don't have to walk around in a circle. You can walk around in a circle to define the space, but you can also stand in the position you are, and if you are using an athame or a sword to project energy, to define the space, to create that circle, all you do is just turn around in a circle instead of walking around. So you can work in a small space. You can work in a space that is just big enough for you to sit down in. So you can sit down, you can do the working you need to do. You can stand up and you can turn around to all the different quarters. You can face them. You can turn to face different directions if you want to work with a particular energy. So you can definitely work in a small space. This was another question that came up and asked Lee. I'm not sure if you asked it. So I might repeat myself when I do the Ask Lee thing. Creative Soul, thank you. It's a pleasure. Geraldine, highly. I'm finding it difficult to find information on saints that are worked with in traditional craft. Is it personal choice, or are there specific ones like hoodoo, brujeria, etc.? Saints in traditional craft probably a bit difficult. You can probably, I mean, the saints are the saints. They're Catholic, whether you are in America or in England or in Africa, or, the saints are the saints, the Catholic saints. So you can probably go to hoodoo and brujeria texts, as there are a lot of them, a lot of texts on the saints, and glean from that the information that you need to. In traditional craft, I'm not going to say nobody works with the saints. It's not really a big thing. I'm trying to think of anybody I know does actually work with the craft. I mean, a lot of them will work with the Watchers, specifically in connection with Tubal Cain and Cain, Azazel, and there's a lot of charms that relate to God, Christ, Mary, but that's usually because that was the new being, the new God that was coming into the land, so they decided to incorporate to their own pantheon. But I can't think of anybody who actually works with the saints in traditional craft. But yeah, if you need the information, I'd definitely go to hoodoo texts for that. Creator Soul, yes, that was me. I asked that question on one of your videos. Okay, all right. So I'll probably repeat myself. Not everybody's going to watch this, so yeah, I'll just repeat myself there. Geraldine, I work with La Santa Muerte, and she's very powerful. Demonosphere, in theory, someone can evoke the genius of Socrates or the spirit of Plato. What's your take on this? Have you ever had any experience evoking dead philosophers? I haven't, but actually you said that, and it reminded me of something I saw today. It was to make a pact with the goddess Beyonce on Etsy. But yeah, you can definitely work with the philosophers. I'd say a lot of them have become mastermen. Ascended masters and things like that. So definitely worth exploring. I haven't myself though. Geraldine, I've seen a few cunning folk say they work with them, so I was just wondering. Okay, there is a group on Facebook. It's run by Lorna Hayward. I can't remember the entire title now. Hang on, maybe I can go find it quickly. Please hold. It's a brilliant group, it really is. So if my Facebook decides to load. Come on, what are you? What are you? It's not telling me. Try here. Traditional witchcraft, folk magic, Cunning Folk. Just make sure that's the same one. Yes, it's got Paul in it. So it's called Traditional Witchcraft, Folk Magic, Cunning Folk. One of the admin will be Lorna Haywood. So just look out for that. There's also Paul Ratcliffe. Yeah, that's the group. A great group, brilliant group. Definitely recommend you go join there. Salubrious dithyramb. I'd love to hear you say that 10 times fast. It's here. Hello, how are you doing? Sorry, you caught me at the end. I do have load shedding in 9 minutes, where my electricity is going to go off. Fortunately, we have a schedule. It's not like a random thing, or it can sometimes be a random thing, depending on what they decide to do. Geraldine, thank you so much. Lee, very helpful. It's a pleasure. Not sure I was that helpful, but anyway. Okay, so I'm going to start wrapping things up. This was definitely a success. I am going to do this on the first Sunday of every month. So look out for that. If, as I just mentioned, I have load shedding and the schedule changes, so I'm going to keep it at this time. But if I do have load shedding 1 week that interrupts that, what I'll just push it an hour one way or the other. But it will be scheduled at least a week in advance. So just check out for it in the schedule, and you can hit the bell to notify you when we start the live. I'm not even going to say it. Insalubrious. It's actually 2 English words joined together. Yeah, see that. Richard, thank you. It's a pleasure looking through. I'll try to get here earlier next time. Yeah, be on time. Come on. Can't do all this Chthonic underworld Cthulhu stuff and not make it to the live on time. Sappho, death postures. Are there any sources that provide information? I've been wanting to learn more of them. Okay, definitely go into Austin Osman Spare's work. That's where death postures are really, they're mentioned a lot in there. Some other sources would be Crowley. Can't think of any specific levers at this point, but if I come across them, I'll remember and let you know next time. But another thing you could consider with death postures is yoga asanas. Pick a yoga asana which you can hold, which isn't absolutely comfortable, because that's really what a death posture is. It's a position that you hold still, but it's not comfortable, and it can get quite painful. And that throws you over the edge to put you into trance. So a yoga asana can definitely do that. So try and find one of those. Proper Me's, this was fun. Thank you all. Bye everyone. Geraldine, thank you. I look forward to it. Okay, great. All right, so I am going to go and switch everything off, and I'll see you around. Okay, have a great one. Thanks for joining, everybody. This was great. I enjoyed it. And cheers for now. Bye-bye.